Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the EFL Fantasy Podcast. My name is Angus,
My name is Dan.
and we're here with our final sort of wrap up of the championship season. We're going to do a little bit on the playoff final, which obviously happened at the weekend, and then we will do sort of our season awards, and we'll have a little bit of fun looking back on our preseason predictions. I know that at least mine, some of them are absolutely terrible, which is always part of the fun, really. But first things first, Dan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Angus. We're in that funny stage of the season where games are happening but not regularly, so you can sort of switch in and out. It was quite nice to watch the FA Cup final and then obviously the Championship final and then a little bit of a lull. Well, obviously Champions League this week, and then you got a little bit of lull before we all get annoyed. Well, especially me with Southgate on how he's going to ruin not winning the Euros. So yeah, funny
Yeah, I mean,
Funny time of the year, but a good time.
yeah, I mean, as a Scotland fan, it feels slightly different in terms of expectations, shall we say? Um,
Are you excited for the Euros?
yeah, I think it's
No, no,
actually
from like a Scotland point
yeah,
of
yeah,
view.
yeah. I think it's actually
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Like, I think the qualifying campaign this time felt different, particularly with the good performances against Spain as well. It it feels slightly different going in, where last Euros it was sort of not quite happy to be there, but it was also the first one after being out for so long. Where this one, it's like no,
yeah.
you've qualified, sort of qualified on merit. Had a good result, positive results against like Spain, had a positive result against Spain, had a positive result against Norway. Like it feels like there's a not quite more to it, but it's sort of like okay, there's a little bit more expectation. Like I'm not sort of being unrealistic, but there's a little bit more expectation this time. Um, but yeah, so I'm intrigued for that. I'm intrigued overall. I think it's shaping up to be a very interesting tournament, and I'm looking forward to it. I like that there's a little gap as well before it before it starts.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough of that because as a lot of people will know, I'll just cover it off now and then we'll move on. We will be obviously podding about that. Um, we will be talking about. I mean, I will be playing both Euros fantasy games, but we'll be podding about the Gaffr game and discussing that. Um, but we will be doing so in due course and we'll sort of let you guys know what we're going to be doing. But for now, we'll sort of round off the championship season um, and sort of tie a bow on that. So we've got the playoff final, and we were discussing beforehand in terms of when we were predicting the playoffs. My stubbornness on picking Southampton paid off in this case. Southampton did get the win, 1-0 win. Adam Armstrong with the two best moments of the game, the goal and the premature taking his shirt off at the end of the game.
Imagine if you had him to get a booking and he should have got booked and the ref didn't do it.
It would have been incredible. Um, but yeah, so obviously Southampton have gone up, uh, got the job done. Um, yeah, it's an interesting one for them. One thing I will say that I found, just to start off the conversation, that I found it interesting. It's the third time Southampton have played Leeds this season. They've had, particularly in terms of what we think of Southampton, under Russell Martin, in all three games they had less of the ball, and all three games they won, which I just thought was an interesting sort of just. Obviously, it's a very general thing, and it doesn't necessarily address how it came about. But I just found it interesting, particularly in terms of the way we think about Southampton, that was the case. I don't know sort of what broadly you want to sort of talk about from this. That was just sort of my initial thought on it, really.
Yeah, I think. Going in, I thought Leeds would win. They've unfortunately let me down on getting four correct playoff winners in a row. So not overly happy, but well, they started the game pretty well. Actually, it was very high tempo. I thought we were really going to be in for a maybe a playoff final classic, which we don't normally get.
Hmm.
Um, I can't remember. I'm trying to. It's hard because I was at the Lewin game and that felt like pretty. It felt better than what this game was the other day. Um, but yeah, overall, I was quite disappointed with Leeds when you consider their front four, and they didn't really do too much until Dan James came on later on and hit the bar. Um, it seemed very comfortable for Southampton at times. Personally, I thought the one of the biggest battles would be Walker Peters against Somerville, and I think we saw why Walker Peters is a Premier League player. He should never even be in this league. Um, Kept Somerville pretty quiet all game. Um, for their midfield, won the battle against Leeds. Um, Massively impressed with Downs, especially in the playoff campaign. Um, they've obviously already signed Harwood Bellis. They've got to try and get Downs back. It's really important. I think we've seen from Burnley this year in the Premier League, you've got to try and get those loan players back in the Premier League if you can. So they've got Harwood Bellis. If they get down, that'll be a massive step in the right direction of hopefully staying in the league. Um, yeah, I just thought Southampton were pretty much faultless, apart from the first 5 or 10 minutes where they looked a bit shaky. But apart from that, it was pretty comfortable. I thought.
Yeah, I mean, in actuality, I know there weren't a great deal of chances in the game. It felt like they had possibly slightly better, and the one sort of really clear chance it felt like was created, Adam Armstrong took very well, which is what he's been doing all season. Um, like you say, I thought defensively they were very good. I think they were helped by a couple of those Leeds players not necessarily having their best games. Somerville struggled against Walker Peters. I think a lot of people were surprised when he came off, but I think part of that was Somerville wasn't having his best game either. Like Walker Peters was doing well against it, but it's not like Somerville looked like he was in danger of making something happen. Sometimes you just have to change something up. Like I would have been sort of wary of taking him off, but at the same time, like it's where you can mix things up, and so I understood it. Um, Rutter, who's obviously had a very good season, I thought he wasn't great in that game. Um,
He's not been good since he's had his hernia
yeah,
off,
although the
which
playoff
having
semi-final second leg where he sort of took it over, like, and you thought, oh, he's back to his best now, and then
yeah.
lays an egg like that in the playoff final. Like you said, I thought the midfield was key. Downs obviously in the middle of it, but I thought Smallbone and Aribo either side of him did their jobs really well. Um, really solid, helping out sort of into the wide areas as well. Like Aribo helping out to the left, Smallbone helping out to the right, stopping Leeds getting sort of advantages in any area really. I thought it was just a really good sort of, particularly from the midfield, a really good showing. And also because his role sort of alternated a bit as the game sort of went along. I was really impressed by Brian Fraser's work rate and discipline because particularly as the game went on, he was basically playing left wing back. And both his work rate getting up and
Yeah.
down the wing and his just sort of discipline, like when he dropped in, he would stay there until it was time to go out the field. He would he was looking around. Like there were times where you could see it panning a bit wider, and he was sort of looking around, making sure that he was in line, all that sort of thing. And so I think, for someone who's that's not necessarily either his instinct or sort of what he's used to. I thought that that was really sort of commendable as well. And I think they just did a really good job. They went in, they knew what they had to do. They were well organized, they were well disciplined, they did their jobs. Um, credit to Alex McCarthy. The few things he had to do, he did very well. Um, and yeah, just it felt like thoroughly professional job done by Southampton. Um, so they're obviously on their way up, as you say. Harwood Bellis permanent option has been triggered. I'm not sure they'll be able to get Downs back, but whether it's him or somebody in that role, that's gonna be the key for them. Um, in terms of
So Che
Leeds,
Adams is going.
yeah, but I think that's not necessarily that big a loss for them. He's obviously done a job for them this season, but I think they're decently equipped to cover that loss. Um, and he wasn't sort of regular starter for them either, so I think that's probably the other thing that enables them to sort of ride that. Leeds, I think, is an interesting one. I think there were the initial sort of inflated reports of how bad their sort of how much money they were going to have to make up this summer, which obviously, because it was the total amount of transfer fees outstanding in terms of installments, which obviously I was sort of like, yeah, but are all those installments due this summer? Which they're not. I think after the transfers of Sinistera and Tyler Adams, which obviously are on the books for this year, um, or this financial year, I think they have to make up another roughly £30 million, 30 to £35 million. Um, you would think Somerville is going to go. There's also some money being made from some of these loan guys, as in guys that've been out on loan that we've forgotten about. Like Robin Koch is already off the books. I think he's moved on a free, but that means his wages will be off the books. Um, I think there's a deal done for Mark Rocker to go to Real Betis on a permanent transfer. In terms of we're thinking about the squad that was in the championship this season, but they can potentially sell the likes of Jack Harrison instead. Um, so they won't necessarily have to tear up the team that was in the championship this year too much. Somerville will obviously be a significant loss, and you would assume with the amount of interest in him uh, that he will move on. But what are your thoughts on this summer for Leeds?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think Somerville will go. I think Nonto will go. He kicked up a fuss at the start of the season. It wouldn't be surprised if they've done an agreement behind closed doors, stay for a season where you can go. I think they'll keep Archie Gray. I think he'll want to stay another year. Rutter, I think, will stay. And then it's just can you get Roden back? Because I think he's been pretty good. Meslier, hmm, not I'm not too sure how good Meslier is. He's good, but is he good? Um, yeah, I think they'll be fine. I think the standard at the top isn't going to be quite as good. Uh, Um, so I think it'll be Burnley. Obviously, there's but company's just gone to Bayern, so they're up in the air, but their squads will be quite deep. I saw their all their players contracted. They can literally field three teams.
Yeah,
Or obviously they'll sell players and things like that, get rid of players, so they'll be fine. Luton will do a bit of business, but their recruitment will be quite good, I'd have thought. I'm intrigued with Borough and Coventry this season because I think they rebuilt last year. I think they'll be stronger this year. And then, yeah, so I'm not sure. Sheffield United's just a wild card. They could literally automatic or be like 15th, and I don't think I'd be surprised at the minute. Um, so yeah, I think although they're going to lose some players, I think if they get it done quickly, and I think that'll be the most important thing because Farker was sort of mucked around last summer with trying to build the squad. if they can get players out the door, similar to what Watford did with João Pedro. He was basically gone
Yeah,
first week. He was literally just gone to Brian, just get him out, um, and then you can start rebuilding. Yeah, I'll be amazed if Leeds don't finish. They'll could definitely finish top six. I'll be amazed if they don't get top two.
yeah. Like I say, I think a lot of it will be the same. I know a lot of people have been talking about Archie Gray leaving. I think Archie Gray will stay. I think he'll probably want to stay. I think because I think ultimately he would want to play Premier League football for Leeds. Um, but I also think it's one of those things with him where he's also the one you hold on to if you're Leeds because he's the one that's going to be like super valuable in like a couple of years time. Um, and so
I
from
think
that
I'd like them to
perspective as
get.
well,
I think I'd like them to get a proper right back, and then we see Archie Gray in his natural position. I think that's where we want to see him. I think.
yeah. And I think that that should be part of the focus now. I'd expect to see with them being able to properly shape it a little bit more, like you say, in terms of how far it dragged on last summer with things like the loan clauses and the players wanting out and some of them going and some of them staying and how much money could they spend and all of this. I think this summer should be a little bit clearer, a little bit more like quote unquote normal. And so I think like they should be able to sort of shape it a little bit more. It sounds like they've decided early that Farker is going to stay as well, which I'm not surprised by, but I think it's the sort of thing they had to make a decision on early because if you're going to replace
Yeah.
him, you have to get that process done early as well. I think they're probably making the right call because, he was in charge of a 90-point team that in, in most years would go up. So um,
Yeah.
I don't think you can point too much blame at him, but it's just that sort of thing where you make that decision early and the more decisions you make early, the better set up you are. Um, like you, I think top six minimum for them, and certainly, I mean, I'll be predicting them to finish top two next season. Um,
But
that's not
yeah,
necessarily a
we'll
good
see.
thing for Leeds, but like that's what I feel about them at the moment. Although it obviously depends a little bit on the summer, but that's sort of where I'm at the moment with them. Yeah, so let's move swiftly on from that. I'm sure the Leeds fans will thank us for that. To a bit more of the fun stuff. So we've obviously done this in previous years. We're going to give out some awards for this season. Some of them are championship awards, in terms of the sort of league. Some of them are Gaffr awards. Um, I think we got rid of one that we'd done in a previous year, which was a Gaffer team of the season because that just ends up being sort of the best point scorers in a team. So we got rid of that one. But otherwise, for anyone who's listened before, we're doing all the sort of same awards we've done previously, except for the one year where I gave an award specifically to Troy Deeney. I won't be doing that again. So the first thing we had was team of the season. I know you said that you struggle for a couple of positions in this. We'll go for starters. What formation have you got the team in?
3-3.
I've done 4-2-3-1, so we can work through sort of
Yeah,
position
that's
area
fine.
or
Yeah,
position by
yeah,
position. So we'll start off with one that I know you had a little bit of issue with, goalkeeper.
yeah. So I don't think I don't think defenses have been great this year. Uh, we did compare it to last year. Obviously, their attacks were a lot better this year. I went for Hermansen from Leicester. Um, they obviously conceded. Let me just check this. Not They conceded the least amount of goals. Didn't get quite as many clean sheets, but I know his save percentage was not the save percentage, the expected goals. He he's he kept out was higher than anyone else that's in the league, which I didn't really expect because it's been well known he's basically a ball playing goalie. Um, but yeah, I think there wasn't too many standouts. Could have gone with Palmer from West Brom, but yeah, it's Hermansen for me.
Yeah, I went with Hermansen as well. I thought he was sort of the standout goalkeeper. Um, for me, I think the other big thing with him is when you can get a goalkeeper, a ball playing goalkeeper who, at the very least, you don't lose anything shot stopping wise. That's a real sort of win. And
Yeah,
I know if you look at a number of the sort of advanced stats, he was like the best keeper in the league this year in terms of shot stopping.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's obviously a big um, sort of plus, I guess. The other one that I very much considered was Angus Gunn.
I couldn't give that after his playoff performance. I couldn't do that,
Yeah,
Angus.
but I think to me it was just so clearly Hermansen that it wasn't that difficult. I also think I saw that he was like seventh in the league overall for completed passes this season. If you want to know what Leicester were doing this season, I think it was something like he was top 10 in all players in the league for completed passes. Um, so that felt like it told its own story as well. Right back,
It's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's Walker Peters by a mile, I think.
yeah, Walker
Like I mentioned,
Peters.
yeah, like I mentioned about 5 minutes ago, that he shouldn't be playing in the championship. And what was it, 18 months ago, he was going to call up for England when you consider England's depth at right back. Um, I mean, I'm not against him going just to play at left back if it means Joe Gomez ain't going to have to play. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's probably one of the easiest decisions in here, maybe apart from the left back. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, yeah, it's a no-brainer. The only other option was maybe NG.
yeah. I was
Uh,
about to say honourable mention for Perry and G. Who I thought had an excellent season, and particularly defensively. I think there were a number of the stats where, if you look at defensive stats, Perry and G was sort of the best player in the league, but I think it was Walker Peters there. Um, yeah, we'll go sort of across. So centre backs, who have you got there?
yeah, I've gone for Roden. I think they kept the most clean sheets in the league. Um, and I went Kit Prey. I just think West Brom have been good defensively, and it was either Palmer or Kit Prey, and in the end, I was struggling with centre backs. I know you could maybe throw the Leicester boys in, but um, yeah, and I think the interesting thing with Kit Prey is he's out of contract and he's going to be playing in the Premier League next year. I'm pretty sure about that. So yeah, those two. I'm not sure. Like I mentioned before, I'm not sure it's been the best year for centre backs this year. But I think Roden was pretty standout, and it was just trying to find his partner. I think.
Yeah, so I did sort of the boring thing, but it was what sort of stood out to me almost. I did go Roden, but I had Fass with him. I thought he did very well this season, particularly in this new system where he was often having to cover the wide area as well. In terms of when they had sort of the right back moving in, it was often Fast that had to cover the wide area, which isn't always easy for a centre back. And I thought he did a pretty good job out there. So, like you say, there were a few around. I don't mind the Kipre shout. I think Greaves, obviously at Hull, another one.
Yeah,
Ethan Ampadu as well. Um,
where to play him. The scene is not sure. If he'd have stayed in centre mid, he might have got in my team. It's a
yeah.
spoiler. He's not in the team.
But yeah, I just think in the end for me, sort of Roden was the one who got in, and then I just went with Fast. I thought he did well, and I also loved the sort of that he was sort of this season's every so often he'd just go off on a run upfield and but actually sort of have
It's that
decent
Armour
success rate
Helpage.
in terms of if not sort of literally making something happen, creating enough chaos that it made it difficult for the opposition. Um,
Yeah,
Left back, I'm not sure we have to spend too much time on this.
it's Leaf Davis, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, was he a left back? He's just like left forward, wasn't he, half the time?
yeah, but which
I'm
was
not, I'm
like
not sure how
probably
good he is defending, but
yeah.
we'll find out how good he is at defending next year, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so easy to put him in there.
Yes, so
Um,
he was brilliant, wasn't he?
yeah. Midfield. You go first because you've got three of them.
So I went for Downs, Dewsbury Hall, and Sarah. Um, Downs has been a late shout, but I just think the fact that Southampton are rubbish without him, I think that proves how good he is. Like I mentioned, in the playoffs, he was probably one of the best players in the playoffs. Uh, Dewsbury Hall, Leicester don't go up without Dewsbury Hall. Um, Premier League player. He was a Premier League player when Luton had him till 3 years ago. So for him to come back down and have to do another season is just ridiculous. And Sarah, I think he's really fun to watch. Sarah didn't really show up in the playoffs, but I think whether you play him deeper or in the 10, I think he's been one of the best players in centre mid. I'll be amazed if he's at Norwich next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's already links. I've seen Palace, who obviously, sort of well known for shopping in the Championship market.
Yeah,
Roma have been linked with him. No, it wouldn't surprise me if there's other teams around looking at him, particularly that positional versatility. He can play as a deeper player. He can play box to box. He can play 10. He showed at times an ability to play coming in from the right as well. So I think, yeah, and I think they'll get decent money for him as well. Um, I cheated in my 4-2-3-1 because I have a double pivot of Sarah and Dewsbury Hall, uh, which wouldn't necessarily function the best. Although I don't think it would be terrible, but it wouldn't necessarily function the best in a real team. But you know, for the purposes of
just him
this,
for Walker Peters or something.
yeah, no, for the purposes of this, and particularly the way teams of the season normally go and everything. At least this is sort of like putting guys in positions they were actually playing. So I'm going to call that a win. But yeah, I've just gone with Sarah and Dewsbury Hall in there. As you say, I think they're so good. Totally take the point if particularly in the midfield three of going with Downs as well. I just went slightly differently there. Um, I'll include my sort of pen then because obviously you've done three midfields. I had Sammy Smodics.
I have him playing up front.
Yeah, I got him in the team. That I just thought top scorer. Um, Incredible season. I think there's been it's one of those weird things when someone has sort of a career year at 28 where um, you're sort of like a little bit, what do I do with this? I think there's a couple of questions about, in terms of you look at some of the all-round numbers in terms of how much he was actually doing other than scoring the goals in terms of the contribution. Like, we've talked about with the bonus conversation in Gaffr, but like when you're talking about team of the season, top scorer in what ultimately was not a great team, I think has to be in team of the season, really. I totally get it in that
Yeah,
sort of system, putting him up front, but obviously because I was doing the slight difference, I've ended up putting him as a 10. Um, so we'll go with the two wide players.
on for Armstrong and Somerville. Um, you could argue about Armstrong up front, but I don't think it was a standout right winger. So I thought he has played loads out on right wing or coming from the right. So I thought that made sense. I'm intrigued to see if he actually steps up this time in the Premier League because he was terrible last time with Southampton up there. But I think Martin will play him more from the wing and it will suit him. And left wing is Somerville. I know I've been critical about him in the playoff final, but yeah, he's been excellent. Another one that shouldn't be playing at this level. Um, yeah, I think Somerville and Armstrong in some format have to be in it.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about Smodics? You said you had him up front, just to sort of cover that off.
Yeah, I put him up front. I don't think it was a great standout year for strikers. Um, Rutter sort of played his way out of the team the last couple of months. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy having Smodics, Armstrong, and Somerville. No long balls. It'll have to be defeat though.
Yeah, so I had Somerville obviously on the left as well. I had Adam Armstrong up top, so he was another one, obviously, like you're saying, in terms of um, him being in the team of the season. Um, on the right hand side, I put Morgan Whittaker. I know his second half of the season
Yeah,
wasn't quite as good, but I think overall he just had a really good season. Another one in a team that wasn't necessarily like great, particularly the second half of the season, which is part of why I'm sort of like not quite writing off his second half of the season, but willing to forgive it a bit more because the team sort of they went through what two different managers in that period, like um, they lost some of the better players around him. I think the even then the reason they stayed up was ultimately him. And so I just thought um, that I wanted to sort of get him in there in terms of his contribution this season because I thought it was another one where he played really well. We knew sort of the talent he had, but I think him sort of he played really well this season, and so um, particularly shifting Armstrong up top in this, it it opened that up, and so I just thought he was one that was worthy of acknowledgement in that form. So the next one we've got is Player of the Season.
yeah,
Now,
it's Dewsbury Hall, isn't it?
yeah, I think we agreed in that we disagreed with the official award that went to Somerville over Dewsbury Hall. I was, I wasn't surprised to hear you say Dewsbury Hall. I have Dewsbury Hall as well. Um, I just thought he was so good this season, so good in multiple
Yeah, he
ways.
won games on his own.
Yeah, like right from the start of the season as well. Like I think it was one of the
Yeah,
first or second
Coventry,
games. Yeah,
Coventry first.
yeah. Like right from the start, it was like, okay, this is going to be sort of his season almost, and yeah, he was incredible. Not to take anything away from Somerville, I just thought Dewsbury Hall.
I just think when it matters, Dewsbury Hall stood up.
Mm,
I'm not sure Somerville did at times this year.
um, well, I think we've got three awards in a row, starting with that one that uh, we're probably going to agree on and not have to spend a great deal of time on. Young Player of the Year.
I'm not so sure. Fatawa.
Oh, see, I've gone Archie Gray.
No, 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 no. He's overhyped. It's been Fatawa. Fatawa's second half of the season was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you like Archie Gray has played excellently most of the season.
He has.
Um,
Yeah,
and I
but
think
it's
Fatu, you're
it's
overlooking like
overhyped.
half of the season where he basically didn't do anything. Um,
I mean, I think it's overhyped. Archie, he's a great player, but he's not been the best young player in the league.
um,
He's not.
no, I think
I'd put Johnny Rowe ahead of him, but if he
I
wasn't
mean
injured,
John Rowe didn't play like a third of the season. Like that
well, no, that's why I didn't pick him.
um, but no, I think part of what I'm factoring in with this is yes, it's sort of like all the young players. I think what Archie Gray is doing at his age is is sort of the sort of thing we don't often see, which is the other thing that I
Yeah.
was sort of factoring in.
How old is Fatu? 19, isn't
Um, That's a very good question that I don't have the immediate answer to.
I think he's 19.
Yeah, he turned 20 in March.
Yeah, so that's when he started playing well.
I mean,
I
the
don't know.
great
I'm
irony
not
with
going to
him,
argue with Archie Gray, but
yeah, the great irony with him, I do just want to bring up with Fatu. I thought he had a good season. Was the whole um, when he didn't go away to AFCON to get the so that he would play enough games for the permanent transfer to trigger, and got himself sent off and missed most of the games that he would have played that he would have missed by going to AFCON anyway. I thought that was a particularly special effort from him, but yeah, he had a very good season as well. Um, Manager of the season.
Cifuentes. Nah, it's McKenna. No, it's
I do think that
landslide.
Cifuentes did an
Absolutely,
incredible job, but
he did.
McKenna was on a different level.
Yeah, it's McKenna. Yeah, yeah. Like I'm
Um,
intrigued to see how he does in the Premier League. I think everyone is, to be honest,
yeah, um,
because having been and watched last year, he might have to change the way he plays. Let's put it that way.
I mean, it will help if he's no longer playing Massimo Luongo. Um,
I mean,
but yeah, I mean, just such a good job. I think it's obviously big for them that they're keeping him as well, with him obviously being linked with other jobs. I think it's probably good for him in that unless that team looks poorly coached, his stock won't drop either. So he doesn't have to sort of jump for any sort of move. Um, so I think it's something that works out for everyone, but is obviously a big deal. But yeah, no contest there. But I do like, even though it was a joke, I do like the mention of Cifuentes, like the turnaround there. Him and Danny Roll.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Next one we've got signing of the season.
This is obvious as well. Flynn Downs. Southampton don't go up without him. Southampton don't make the playoffs without him.
Yeah, I had one that I wanted to mention, but felt like again a little bit of a weird one. I was going to mention Morgan Whittaker, um, but his was obviously a little bit different because he was on loan with Plymouth the previous season,
Yeah,
signed there, so it's also like doesn't really count the same. I did meant like sort of have Downs. I had Steffi Mavididi, just because I thought he there were moments where having him was absolutely key to them. But I accept that like
yeah,
someone like Flynn Downs probably played more of a key role. I also just wanted to mention Omari Hutchinson because I'm not sure
yeah.
Ipswich
I think
go
someone
up
like
without
Harry,
without Hutchinson.
yeah, yeah, and Harry Winks. I know he went for a city, quite a bit of money, but I think he probably should have been in team of the. He's one of them that could have been in
Yeah,
team of the season as well. I think because he just you don't know he's there a lot of the time.
mm,
It goes unnoticed. But I think a player like him in the Premier League is going to be massively important.
yeah. The other one that I think we would have been giving this award to and probably talking about team of the season if he hadn't missed time is Jaden Philogene.
Probably, although I don't get on with Philogene, do I?
No.
But yeah,
Uh,
no, he was good as well.
yeah.
He could, he scores goals that shouldn't count as well. Get
Yes,
credited to
exactly.
him
He scores
for some
goals he didn't
skill.
even score. Uh, Still not over that. Um, One of my favourite ones to talk about is
I hope you've got the same one as me.
worst signing of the season. So I'll let you go first, and then we'll see.
Some people won't even know who he is. It's Chiquino or whatever his name was,
So I had
on
a
loan
different
from
one,
Wolves to
but
Stoke. He
Chiquinho is a
lasted
great
till the end
one.
of August.
So I had a different one. I had Daniel Ayala at Rotherham. I think he
But
played
that's
something like
brilliant.
I think he played something like 4 games, got sent off twice, um, and left like he was January signing. I think played 4 games, got sent off twice, and left before
And
the end of the
release.
season because of injury.
Yeah.
Um,
I
I also
still
had
think mine's quite interesting because people won't know who he is.
I'd forgotten that Chiquinho at Stoke happened this season, so that is a very good shout. Some honourable mentions. I had a couple that feel harsh, but Callum Marshall to West Brom.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. But did he play about 10 minutes?
I think they sent him back before the end of the season, didn't they?
With wasn't it with the thing in mind where if they needed him, they can call him back. So he wasn't officially gone. It was
Yeah.
just we don't need you. Yeah, I feel
Um,
sorry for him. He's quite a good youngster apparently, but he just probably wasn't ready for championship.
yeah, I had, and the other one that I just wanted to mention, just because it ties in with the situation, is he's not necessarily a worst signing, but Pandor, the goalkeeper at Hull, because his signing is one of the main reasons that Liam Rosenior got sacked because he didn't play. So I'm sure Liam Rosenior feels that like that was the worst signing of the
Yeah,
season. God, I've forgotten that Chiquinho happened.
that's brilliant. Because
Um,
Jamie was raving about him as well in pre-season.
I think he had like one good game where you were like, where we thought, okay, this might be a thing, and then apparently he was just like a dick and got sent back. Um, so next award is top 10 team that will finish bottom half next season.
Oh, so there was a few in my mind. I didn't want to pick some press that felt a bit of it. I've gone for Hull, and they it could go either way,
Yeah,
but I think if it goes wrong, you could see him having like two or three managers, and that could lead them to going in the bottom half. Probably someone like I know they're not in the didn't finish in the league, but Sheffield United as well could easily see him finish bottom half if they don't do well to sign. Yeah, and also West Brom and Norwich. I think transition season. I think for those two. So bet
yeah,
I'm going Hull.
yeah. So I said Hull, in part because it's sort of the most likely. Like you said, I could see a couple of those other ones where it's like, okay, it doesn't quite work out, or like they drop away a little bit. But in terms of the one that I could sort of and Hull absolutely could be right up there again. But in terms of the one that I could see dropping down a little bit, um, I went with Hull. Yeah. Bottom half team that will challenge for the playoffs.
Um, so I think this one's probably harder because I'm not seeing a lot of movement from the bottom half. I picked Sheffield Wednesday.
So I probably went the other side of the what we were thinking were probably a similar coin. I went QPR.
Yeah, it was either them or maybe like Watford or Sunderland,
Yeah,
just because I think Cleverley might do well, or
yeah,
Sunderland if they actually appoint a proper manager and start recruiting players, not kids, they might climb the table again. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see QPR and Sheffield Wednesday because there's going to be a bit of hype around them with how they finished. Sheffield Wednesday are the owners of Basket Case. It could get to like November and he's sacked Raw or something, or
Yeah.
But I went Sheffield Wednesday. I think that'd be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, I think QPR were essentially a top half team when Cifuentes came in, which is why I've gone
Yeah,
for them. I also looked back and I would just like to highlight for fans of those teams for this award last season, after last season, under the top 10 team that will finish bottom half, I said Blackburn, and in bottom half team that will challenge for the playoffs, I said Norwich. So
I think I went Hull. I think I might
um,
have gone Hull.
I think you
Can't
may have.
remember.
But yeah, so a little bit of hope for you guys in terms of that's one thing that apparently I can pick. Although probably negative for Hull now I've said that, given that the team I gave this award to last season was Blackburn.
I mean, they
Um,
might get a striker that scores 30 goals though.
yeah, that is true. Um, but yeah, so that's sort of the regular awards. We've now got Gaffr awards. A number of these are the same. Obviously, some of them are slightly different. Gaffer Player of the Season.
This is obvious, and it's Leaf Davis.
Yeah,
Had to be him.
yeah.
Like if
It's
they
not
were
even
still
worth
in it,
debate.
if he was still in it this year, we'd have to. It would be the most expensive defender ever, I think.
Yeah. Um, Flop of the Season.
So I put two, and this is from like because they were priced high. I've
Yeah.
gone for Manning
hmm
and Iñárritu.
So those are the two I had. I said Iheanacho just because he that didn't play.
Yeah, yeah,
Manning was partially rooted in, as I said, we'll talk later about sort of preseason predictions, and I was very big on Ryan Manning. So so that one hurts me a bit as well. But those I think those are the two really, particularly based on price, but also based on expectations coming into the season.
yeah.
Um, those two feel sort of big ones. Best budget pick.
It's rough, isn't it?
Yeah,
He nearly broke the game.
yeah. So I had Rowe, but I also wanted to give a mention to another one that I think obviously played a significant role, which was Fladkey at Ipswich.
Yeah,
Obviously, the difference it
yeah.
made in
Or
terms of a
Dieng. Yeah,
4.0 goalkeeper for a team that obviously gets automatic promotion and everything. But yeah, the fact that the Rowe injury basically saved us from the game just sort of getting broken. Um, yeah, it's got to be him. Um, so I think we've got a couple more Gaffer awards. Um, I'm just going to pause the recording here, and by the magic of sort of editing, you won't even know that I've done it. And as if no, we never went away, we're back. So we've got two Gaffer awards left to give, and these are sort of awards for us, I guess. So the first one is the Gaffer moment of the season for you.
yeah. I don't feel like I had a massively up or down season. I pretty much stayed for a long period of time between few ranks, but on away days 33, I scored 203 points and it cut my rank in half. And it was like the building block for me getting back into the top 100, I think.
Yeah, so for me, obviously, the big one is the I've already forgotten the game week, and on the site it isn't there at the moment. But my game week rank one. Um, so that's obviously the big one for me. Sort of that doesn't need a great deal of explaining. But um, and the worst gaffer moment of the season.
So I put two. I put benching Dewsbury Hall when he absolutely hauled one week. And then I never benched him again all for the rest of the season. And on triple triple in the first half of the season, I got 69 points, which is that's pretty impressive to get that,
Yeah,
especially when they played as well. I think.
yeah. So I had a couple, in addition to my whole not picking Ugbo thing. Uh, so I had a goal fest in game week 15 where I sold more goals than my team scored. That went well. And then the other one was game week 23. I played follow the leader with triple Leicester mid when they were playing Rotherham at home. And I think they won, but like none of I had Dewsbury Hall, Mavididi, and Fatawu. I think none of them did anything. And Fatawu got booked and subbed pre 60 or something. So like it was a 0 pointer on follow the lead. Um So those were the big ones for me in terms of the real sort of like, you know, particularly Gaffr moments rather than like, sort of things I said on the pod or, that sort of thing. But those sort of particular to me were just sort of like, the moments that really sort of did not go well, uh, so to speak. Um, so that's basically all of them. I am just stalling briefly while I try and find the uh, link to the predictions because if not, I will have to scroll back through, and that might require a bit more sort of stalling and filling and whatever. Um,
You're doing a
I,
very good job, Angus.
I was sure I'd saved the link, but I'm sort of trying to find it now, and it is not going to plan. Uh, so I will sort of while I do this, I will sort of stall by saying I went to look on the site and I couldn't find it because the Euros game is now live. So by the time you listen to this podcast, the Euros game is live, um, and yeah. So that's obviously sort of the next thing. But if people want to sort of be diving in, uh, start building their teams, that sort of thing, um, then that's obviously going to be interesting for people. I'm almost there. I nearly managed to stall, mostly awkwardly, until I got to the tweet. Um, so um, desperately trying to stall it out until we. Okay, here we go. Found the tweet. So, in terms of top goal scorer this season, who do you think you predicted to finish top goal scorer?
Who do I pick? Um, it's very high on Sunderland. I can't have picked that youth striker, surely. I might have just gone like Nacho or something.
So both of our picks, we picked different players. Both of them ended up scoring 13 goals this season. To bear in mind, Sammy Smodics finished top with 27, but that's a tie
Okay.
for 11th place. You picked Joel Piroux. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I picked Ellis Sims. Um, the fact that he
Wasn't it
decided
terrible pick? I
he
just
he
went,
only turned up until the second half. He only turned up in the second half of the season. If he'd started off well, I might have had a chance. Here we go. Most assists.
I'd have picked Manning. Did I?
You did not.
Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah. So we both picked Dewsbury Hall for this. He finished
Let's
third.
leave it.
He had 14 assists, uh, behind Rotter with 15 and Davis with 18. So that's not too bad. We'll take that. Most Gaffer points.
This might be Manning.
Yeah, we both picked Manning for this. This did not go to plan. Obviously, like I say, I can't look at the points on the site at the moment because the only game that is showing is the Euros game, but I know that Manning was not even close.
I think he got about 100 odd, didn't he,
Yeah,
Manning?
something like that. So he got a third of uh, most saves.
Johansson, probably.
So I'm now having to scramble down to find the goalkeeping stats. Um, so most saves, you went Johansson, I went Johansson. Johansson had the most saves with 180. The next highest, so he had 180. The next highest was John Ruddy on 153. And then Carl Rushworth on 143, who had a good season. But yeah, so we got one there. Player of the season,
I'd pick Dewsbury Hall in this.
yeah. So I said, particularly because of the timing we did it, I said Ward Prowse if he stayed, if not Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
yeah, similar thinking there. Um,
So technically you're wrong, but if it was proper player of the year, it'd have been right.
I just seen my pick for young player of the season.
Yeah, really. Oh, I don't know who I'd have gone for this.
So you picked
Oh no, I picked the Sunderland striker, didn't
you
I?
picked Semedo
Yeah,
from Sunderland, and I picked Carlos Alcaraz.
I mean it was all right. He just got sent away in January.
Yeah, you know,
To be honest, this is always so hard because
yeah,
players just appear in the championship.
yeah. It's sort of that sort of thing where I mean we were mentioning Jonathan Rowe in pre-season, but not with any sort of real intention. You know, even someone like Jaden Philogene had shown flashes before, but not the consistency. All this sort of thing does make it quite awkward. Um, most yellow cards. I forgot we had most yellow cards. I think.
Who would I have done on this? Probably would have just done Field or something like that. I can't
Uh,
remember.
s-
I might not.
no. So you said Sam Morsey.
There you go. That's correct, isn't it? That
I'm going to
must
give you
be
that because
correct.
he finished joint top with Ryan Porteous. Uh,
Right.
14 yellow cards. I wasn't too far away actually. I said Christian Bielik. Not sure where I got Christian Bielik from. He got 12. So I
Yeah.
wasn't too far off there. Signing of the season. I'm not sure how we were going to measure this, but
Did I do Piero?
we both said Ellis Sims.
He was unbelievable in pre-season.
Yeah. So we both had that. Oh, here's one. Who do who do you think you said for worst signing?
I saw him, Cody.
You did say Connor Cody.
And that's correct, probably.
Money spent per minute played. I said Tyler Roberts. I'm not even sure it's the.
That's
I'm not
correct
even
as
sure it's
well.
the only season I've picked Tyler Roberts for this award either.
Like, you're not going to be able to pick him next year, are you?
No,
He's not going to get a move back to the championship, surely.
no. Uh, First manager sacked.
When Rossini.
Yeah, I can't even remember who the first manager sacked was.
Was it? Oh, Chef Wednesday. Was it Chef Wednesday?
Was it Cisco? I think it might have been Cisco. I said Ishmael.
Warnock. Warnock? Warnock went early.
Was he in charge at the start of the season? I thought he came in for.
No, he was in chance of Huddersfield. He was in charge because they weren't signing any players, and he basically got fed up with it.
I can't remember who it was. If someone wants to clarify, I said Valerian Ishmael, which, if in doubt, pick the Watford manager.
Mine was ahead of the this season. I'd have
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it
yeah.
correct.
Now we get into some of these great ones. So who did you pick for the top two?
I would have picked Leicester and Sunderland.
Yeah. I had Southampton and Leicester.
That's not terrible.
Yeah,
If it's
I'll
all
take
because
it.
they got rid of Mowbray, Sunderland. That's where it went downhill.
Uh, who did you have in the playoffs?
Playoffs. I would have had. I would have had Southampton,
Yeah,
definitely. I would have had Leeds. Must have had Leeds.
yeah,
I would have had. I had Millwall, I
yeah.
think, and okay, Coventry. And I'm trying to think now. See, either Coventry or Borough. I had
The other one was
Borough.
Borough. Yeah. I had Leeds, Borough, and Sunderland, and then this gets even worse. So I remember being irrationally high on them, and it was terrible. So I said Coventry if Harmer stays. So given that he didn't,
Which he did.
uh,
He did though to start with.
yeah, but he didn't stay for the season, which means that my pick, with if he went, this was like the worst thing I've ever done. I picked Stoke to make the playoffs.
I think I had Stoke about eighth or ninth. I think
Like I just sort of got irrationally sort of positive about Stoke.
that was because Jamie was on about the millions of players they were signing.
I think Jamie thought I was insane.
I don't know.
Relegated. Who
But
did
the
you have
what?
getting relegated?
Oh, this would be QPR Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham.
Yeah,
Like it was pretty adamant. That was near enough everyone picked them. I think.
yeah, I think so. I had them as well. And I think to be honest, without the managerial changes, we were like
Yeah, it
dawning
would have been
towards
done
not
by
being
Chris. Well, it
correct.
wouldn't. It'd be done by February.
Yeah. Um, Overachievers. So this was obviously overachieving relative to sort of expectation.
I'm not whole.
No, we both had the same team.
I don't know.
We both said Stoke.
Yeah. Like I said, I was high on Stoke,
Yeah.
just not as high as you were.
Oh, so, and underachievers.
I don't know. Did I go? I might have gone Watford or something like that.
You said Blackburn.
There you go. Solberry and Diaz.
Yeah. I had Watford. But
Yeah,
yeah, so that
Watford.
that
Yeah.
was that was all the predictions.
I feel like it wasn't as bad as previous years, especially mine. Mine felt okay, apart from Semedo. That was bad.
Yeah, I think like I had a few that were either correct or sort of close. Like, even
Yeah.
some of the ones like Bielik and whatever, but there were some of them where it's just like I was a mile off and uh that was less fun. Uh but yeah, so we'll do the same thing again next season and we will get some bang on and we will get some tremendously wrong. That's sort of everything. That sort of ties a bow on the 2023-24 season. Um, Congratulations to Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton. Commiserations to Rotherham, Huddersfield, and Birmingham. Uh, and we will be adding next season Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United, Portsmouth, Derby, and Oxford.
How do you
Um,
feel about those teams being added?
I'm not sure, is the honest way I could put it. Um, I think Oxford are a decent addition. I felt slightly better about it when I thought it was going to be Bolton.
Yeah,
I don't think Oxford are bad, but I think I felt slightly better about the sort of strength when I thought it was going to be Bolton. Um, Derby are very interesting because I think there's going to be significant turnover there. Um, I think them and Portsmouth have the capability of investing. The three coming down, I'd expect them to be at worst solid, but beyond that, it varies a little bit. Like Burnley, who do they hire? I think they've got the makings of a ready-made challenger, but how exactly that team looks come sort of August time remains to be seen. Um, Luton, I think we had this conversation before this past season, even in terms of a lot of the recruitment set Luton up well to have a chance at fighting to sort of like try and survive, but
yeah.
being well set up if you did get relegated to have a go at the championship. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think you're probably the biggest one in terms of how the summer looks for you. Like I think you'll do decently in terms of players coming in, but who actually goes, I think, will play a role in that.
Well, Barkley's gone. Doughty will probably go. Adebayo might go. Maybe Mengi. Apart from that, I think we'll keep Kaminsky, we'll keep Chong, we'll keep Bene, keep Morris. So yeah, signings you just never know.
Yeah.
They're normally pretty good with Lewin.
Mm.
Um, but
And then Sheffield United are just, as you said earlier, a little bit of an unknown. Like,
they could be really good though. Like
yeah, I mean, you know, they're coming down with players like Harmer. Um, everyone knows what a fan I am of him and everything. So, you know, that's obviously potentially big for them. And yeah, we'll just see how it goes. But I think it's interestingly poised. Um, I think
yeah,
two
I'm
or
not
three that
sure.
will be there's two or three that will be sort of like significant favourites. I think going into next season. Although I'm not
Yeah,
sure how different that is from this past season, where you would have said, particularly with the strength of the relegated clubs, that you would have expected them to go back up. I think it's possibly a little bit more sort of balanced going into next season.
yeah. I think what we saw was the three teams coming down because they had 3 years of parachute payments, and they were Premier League squads. I think the top four, including Ipswich, were miles ahead. But I've said it before. I thought the overall quality of the league wasn't as good as the season before, and I'm expecting teams like Borough and Coventry to definitely challenge next year. So I'm not sure the top of the league will be as good, but I think it might be a lot more tighter.
Yeah, yeah. I think there was a lot more sort of level, uh, um, sort of a level playing field. As I've said, I think a couple of those teams will be sort of higher up, but after that, I think it's all to play for teams, which I think is interesting. Um, but I'm sure next time we talk about them, we'll have a better idea of how they're shaping up, if nothing else. Um, so yeah, so that's everything. Um, when we next speak to you, it will be about the Euros, which should be interesting. We haven't quite worked out exactly what we're going to do ahead of the tournament, so that's something we'll work out in due course. We're hoping to have Jamie on for at least some of the pods, whatever he is sort of able to do. Again, that's something that will sort of keep you guys informed on sort of going forward. We'll probably have something relatively soon, I would guess, just in terms of the game having dropped. just to have sort of a look through that, and then we'll sort of go from there. But in terms of the championship part of the season, um, thank you all for listening. I hope you all sort of continue to listen through the Euros. If you're not interested in that, then we'll see you again in about August, I think. Well, hopefully see you back. um,
Be a bit earlier than August, probably, but
yeah,
end of
probably.
July, probably
Yeah, but
middle of July, whenever they drop it.
yeah, that's a good point. Just sort of saying this, like it's a while off. Um, but yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your support and engaging with us and everything. And yeah, we will speak to you again soon. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
Bye.
Tomorrow!